Hello, hello. We are live. We are live. And I do apologize. There's a little delay here, but I was having some technical difficulties. So restart the phone, restart computers, make sure everything's synced up together. But I want to jump right in. I really want to get into the juiciness of today because I am feeling on fire from a conversation I just had with the beautiful Amanda. And we went rogue on so many things, but that's what it's all about, is when you're living your truest authentic self and you can show up unapologetically you, that is living. Like, we're not here to live out somebody else's way of living in their dreams and their desires. That feels like it, right? So we are recording this for a podcast. I want to decide, I might keep it, I might yank it. You just never know. Some things I drop so much wisdom and nuggets that I want to maybe keep it sacred. So if you catch these live, stick around because it may or may not be here when you come back later. And if it is here, thank you for joining the recording, and please comment anything below, ask me questions. I'm open book. I'm here to support and serve. So we're going to talk about the top 11 requirements. There are a couple more, but the top 11 that are most important that I believe are required for self-mastery up until now. And maybe, and actually I'm certain it will evolve and change and shift, but if you are new to self-mastery, or if you're trying to understand how to incorporate best practices for self-mastery, this episode is for you. There are no shortcuts. There are no biohacking routines or things you can do, supplements you can take. It's the inner game. And we know the inner game is a direct reflection into our outer experience, right? So at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to acknowledge and be aware of what is in our control, what's not in our control. And everything I'm going over today is going to unlock a lot of this for you. So if you're listening today, please take notes. Pick at least one thing that you are feeling activated by, that you plan to integrate into your lifestyle, that you plan to integrate into how you show up. So what you are not changing, you are choosing. You've probably heard me say this over and over again, but it's true. And many people choose to play small. And I'm here not to sugarcoat anything today, because if I do, I'm not being a good coach nor friend. My friends that are my closest friends know I give a lot of tough love, and I'm here to just embrace and comfort people if they don't want it either. So I'm assuming you're here today. You're here for a breakthrough. You're here for transformation. You're here for that change, because what you're not changing, you are choosing. And it's time to live out your fullest potential and enjoying the life, this ride that we call life. So let's talk first about the embodiment work. I talk a lot about activations and integration. So you're activated by something new. You desire to experience something new. You integrate new habits, new ways of being, which is all anchored in the subconscious mind, right? The subconscious mind is where a lot of our old beliefs and old patterns and old paradigms may live. And that's what's creating our thoughts, right? And a lot of people talk about thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. You can read books on it. You can go to YouTube and look at it. And that's fine and dandy to understand that thoughts, feelings create actions, create results, but then those results create new actions, and it's being filtered through our subconscious mind, whether we're aware of it or not. So if you're aware of it, you're conscious of it, you're conscious and aware, and you're intentional with your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, and you're choosing to be intentional and conscious with the way you think and you feel and you take action. That's called living by design. So that's what we want to unlock. That's part of self-mastery. So when we embody this, this is that self-mastery level. We embody this, that becomes who we are, how we show up, how we do life. And a lot of times people forget that step or skip that step. So if you do forget the embodiment part, then you're not fully integrating and mastering it. You can integrate things, you can be activated by things or what people say, but if you're not embodying it, it doesn't get to become part of who you are. There are things that you learn that maybe you don't want to become a part of who you are. It just was something you learned to take care of a task. Like, for example, I learned to change oil on my car when I was a teenager because I did, and friend's dad taught me because he's like, you should know how to do this. And I don't remember because it wasn't something I wanted to embody or do again and again and again, right? So we can think of it as the strategic masculine energy side of things, but also the energetic, intuitive, creative side of things as well. So decision mastery and the embodiment work is to activate and integrate. And that's the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the components that link to your highest self, your fullest potential. And again, going back to, would I love this? Do I love this? Does it feel aligned? Am I out of alignment? Am I feeling constricted? Am I forcing it? Am I feeling open and expansive? And it feels good. So embodying the practice of being and doing life in alignment is key to all of this. Is actually the foundation to all of this. Living in alignment, living life by design versus life by default, which is old patterns and behaviors. Pausing, because this next one may activate something in you that needs to be uncovered in a way that you've probably never uncovered it before. The word discipline. The word discipline for many could be restrictive, constrictive, can't have to do things. And instead, I invite you to look at the word discipline as I get to, and discipline will give you experiences, results that you desire, and you get to choose what you're disciplined in. So try on the feeling of having a good definition, a good involvement of what you get to choose, what you're disciplined in, because discipline ultimately equals freedom. You can look at the most successful people in the world by our society standards, and they're disciplined in certain things. Whether it's, let's say, success means you have a lot of money. So they're disciplined in knowing how to manage their money. They know how to spend. They know that money is energy. They know how to save. They know how to invest, and they're disciplined in how they manage their money. Look at people that are physically fit. They're disciplined in the foods they're putting in their body. They're disciplined in their rest and recovery. They're disciplined in their supplements. They're disciplined in how they work out and how they don't. So that's the key of discipline. What are you disciplined in doing on a regular basis, creating habits? And what are you habitually not doing that you're now aware of, that if you did, you would start gaining experiences and results that you desire? So discipline is not just what we're doing, it's also what we're not doing. And again, creating this relationship with the word discipline that equals results. When you're not receiving the results you desire, check in with yourself and where have you been slacking in discipline? It's the best accountability buddy you could have. It will tell you without telling you, right? Which is beautiful if that's where you're going. Now, you get to choose. You get to choose. You don't have to, but if you desire a certain result and you know there's a certain thing or two or three, because that's the thing, there's multiple ways to be disciplined. It's just what and how do you choose to show up and be, to experience that. The third one here is your operating system. So the operating system, subconscious mind, this is our, what we're working with every day. It's running usually on default. So that's living life by default. And if you haven't upgraded your operating system to live out your truest desires, to live your highest potential, to live in alignment, then you're probably living on old programming. And it's not time to upgrade your programming, which is what we do in the Rise Up community. And the Rise Up community, it's rise up to experience it all. Rise up, radical, intentional, self-expansion to unleash your unlimited potential. That's it. Radical, intentional self-expansion. You're being intentional. You're being conscious. It's radical because we're breaking down old patterns, behaviors, and beliefs that no longer serve you. We're honoring and releasing that. So your operating part is simple. It's so simple that it actually isn't always easy, because when you're rewiring your operating system, those thoughts are powerful. They're beliefs that have been firing and wiring for decades. And when you believe that you can, you're right. And you believe that you can't, you're right. So we're breaking these down and rebuilding new. And what happens is we become these meaning-making machines, which we were from a young child. And our brains are designed to keep us safe. Our brains are actually designed to keep us alive. And so what our brains are doing is they are keeping us safe and alive. And the fact that it likes the familiar, because familiar is predictable. And what's predictable is safe, right? If we can predict something, we are technically, quote unquote, safe. But that's the thing, even in a not so good situation, even if someone's in a not so good relationship or partnership, that it feels pseudo safe, even though it might not even be physically, emotionally, or mentally safe, right? For that person. So our brains are wired to keep us alive, survival, and yet not thrive. Thriving is our responsibility. thriving and upgrading our operating system is our responsibility if that's what we desire. And what you desire, you deserve. I believe that God, source, universe does not make mistakes. So the next point I want to bring up is the get to versus have to. I think I did a whole episode on this. Get to versus have to. This is your level of intention and attention in all that you get to do. For example, the reason I picked these words to show you is because you can powerfully word swap, which I highly encourage. Trading out have to for get to, because our words are 500 times more powerful than our thoughts. And I always say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And when we know that we get to do things because we get to experience the result of doing those things, and we create a habit and we're disciplined in this, now we're living full freedom. Now we're living full fulfillment and enjoying life, and we're unlocking that time and money freedom as well. Which leads me to where we probably have some work to do when it comes to cleaning up. Cleaning up agreements and assumptions. Dun, dun, dun. So agreements that we have with ourselves, agreements that we have with others, and then it goes another level deeper, the unspoken agreements that we have with others and the unspoken agreements that we have with ourselves. That we don't know what we don't know. And it's like, are those agreements holding us back? Like, what makes those agreements true is whether or not we committed to it, or we did it intentionally or not, right? So making sure that those are cleaned up. And if anybody's ever had an unspoken agreement with you or an unspoken expectation, those don't feel good. When somebody expects something from you that you never agreed to, doesn't feel good. So cleaning up that energetic space, it will be highly, highly impactful to all of this working cohesively together versus causing some resistance or constriction. The second part of this is the assumption part. Again, what are you assuming? Are you assuming something about your clients? Are you assuming something about your prospects? Are you assuming something about your business partner? Are you assuming something about your spouse, your children, a parent, a friend, a neighbor? Let's drop the assumptions. Let's just go straight to what we desire. And maybe there's some deeper questioning we need to or deserve to have with those parties involved. And I go back to assumptions because of the book, The Four Agreements. And in the abbreviated 4 agreement, if you want the cliff notes real quick here, is the letters HAPB, HAPB. So if you want to be happy before anything happens, which I highly recommend, true fulfillment in life is being happy first and then go do, live, and be in your life, right? So happy stands for H, honoring your word, which I was just talking about, honoring your word and your agreements with yourself and others. A, making no assumptions, because that just makes a huge mess. It makes the ASS out of you and me. That's the word assume, right? And P, take nothing personally, because we all are meaning-making machines and we all have different perspectives and different realities, even while we're experiencing the same thing sometimes, right? Which can be crazy. And then that B is be your best. Now in the book, it says do your best, but as overachieving, high-performing individuals that I mostly work with, doing and performing too much is just like, that's why we're where we are when we hit burnout or fatigue. So instead, if you be your best, that's enough. And knowing that is enough, right? So that all leads to that assumption part, the assuming. It doesn't feel good when someone assumes something about you that isn't true. And it could be something that is great, but it's not true. And you're like, oh, but that's out of integrity. Like, I don't want someone to think that about me when that's not true. And nor do you want that on yourself, right? Next one is the AAA pivot. So the AAA method is a pivoting tool that is the backbone of the Rise Up to Experience It All experience, right? So when we pivot, why do we need to learn how to pivot? Why do we need to learn how to reset? Resetting and pivoting is when we're bumping up against living out of alignment, when we're feeling that restriction and constriction, because it will pop up. It's not a matter of if it will pop up, it's when it will pop up. And it's having that really anchored in. So there's 3 A's. It's the awareness, it's the assessment, and it's the aligned action. And there's components of that that you get to use to pivot throughout your day. And it could be as simple as getting an email or a text that just didn't feel right, or a phone conversation, or someone cut you off, or someone did something really nice. Or this is like the tool to practice pivoting in our responsibility to respond and become decision masters in our own life versus reaction mode on default. Because there's a lot of times people just live life reacting, right? Now, the last few here are really, really fun, but most people forget these or don't want to do the work with these because it's like, well, I got all the other tools and I'm well on my way to self-mastery or decision mastery. Why do I need these other tools, right? Well, this first one is the laws. There are universal laws that govern our existence, just like there's gravity that is here before Newton discovered it. Gravity existed. There are also 12 other laws that govern us. And when it doesn't feel like it's working your way, you're probably working against one of those laws. So when you can recognize and know what you didn't know, which understanding how these laws work and what they are, now you can be certain when you wake up each day and pinch yourself because you're living a fulfilled life that you're working with the laws. You're unlocking the things that you desire and require to give you those experiences, to allow you to attract and experience those experiences, to receive them, which remember, receiving an experience, and it could be actual like vacation trip, it could be a new business, it could be a new client, it could be falling in love for the first time, it could be having a child, buying your dream home, buying your dream car, boat, whatever it is, or it can be as small as receiving gratitude from someone. How are you and who are you as the person who receives? Are you like, oh, this is okay, I guess thank you, I'll settle for that, right? Or are you like, whoa, this gave me goosebumps, I'm so speechless and in gratitude of what you just said or shared with me or gifted me, like, thank you. And like you feel it in your bones and not just, oh, this is it, right? And no feeling or very surface. So when you're working with the laws, and I've talked about a lot of these, there's like the law of compensation, there's the law of masculine and feminine energy, the law of attraction, there's 12 of them. And we go through all of them in the Rise Up to experience it all. Now, when you are like, I have self-mastery down, but life is happening to me and you fall into this victimhood, because you can't have self-mastery and victimhood. They don't exist in the same plane together, because people who are self-mastered and are really rock solid in their decision making and living from alignment with intention and consciousness, they don't blame or shame. They don't shoulda, coulda, woulda. They just accept what is and they honor where they're at with what they have and they decide, is this working for me? If not, then I need to change some things. And if it is, then let's do more of this, right? So if you're like coming up against some constriction or restriction, or like, wow, things used to be easy when I did this and now I'm feeling like it's not, check in, ask the deeper questions. What's going on? Why is it different? How am I showing up? How are the other people showing up? Who else is involved? Am I giving my power away? Am I not giving my power away? Is somebody else giving me their power and I don't want that pressure, right? So enough on that one for now, because I could go on this whole topic for that one, but I want to get into these last two. This last one is anchoring and then knowing when the subconscious mind is most vulnerable and most receptive. When we go to bed at night and when we wake up in the morning. And this is why I put these two together with anchoring. And usually I'll have my little anchor scarf as a reminder, is anchoring into deciding with uber clarity and super duper unshakable confidence and conviction, that version of me, my future vivid version self, living day to day from that vision, from that person, and acknowledging when old parts of me are being honored and released, aka dying off, because it no longer serves me. And there's parts of me that I still love that I'm like, but it doesn't serve me, but oh my gosh, she's so fun. She's so fun. And I'm like, yeah, but I get to be next level fun over here. Bring it. And it's a constant game of awareness and acknowledgement and anchoring into knowing, again, the subconscious mind is most vulnerable first thing in the morning and last thing at night. So what are you intentionally, consciously deciding and choosing to think about at those moments of the day. Before your feet hit the ground, are you anchored into the feeling of expansion, of generosity, of gratitude, of liberation, of the yumminess of all the things of living a fulfilled life and time freedom and money freedom and investing in an overflow of time into those you truly desire to be and do life with? Or flip it to the other side. Are you just going in, doing your thing, into habit mode, and going about your day by default? Because one is living by design, the other is by default. Same thing when you go to bed. Are you thinking about all the things you didn't get done and all the things you have to do tomorrow? Are you anchored into the moment of now of who you are living from your vision versus living, again, by default? And it really is simple. It's a super simple process. I've read so many books. I've hired so many coaches. I've practiced this for over 15 years. I've anchored into it all. And there's times I've fallen off the wagon. There's times I put myself back on. But what I can tell you is it's simple and it hasn't changed because it works the way it works. I say live life by design your way because you have to define and get clear on what and why and who is showing up the way that feels good to you, your way, in alignment. But it doesn't work your way right now. Because if it worked your way right now, you would have everything you would desire and you wouldn't be on this live, or you wouldn't be in one of my programs, or you wouldn't be seeking out the answers. You wouldn't be searching for the next thing to provide for you, the circumstance, the situation, the money, the love, the partner, the baby, the house to fulfill you, because you're already fulfilled. And that's the very last piece I wanted to bring into all this. This is the 11th one, is that no sacrificing. When you're in full self-mastery and you've embodied it, you're no longer sacrificing that fulfillment for a feeling or an experience or a circumstance, because you already have access to the feeling now. You're not waiting for someday when. You're taking ownership now, feeling it now, expecting it now, embracing it now, being it now, receiving it now. And it's always that or something better. So self-mastery, all of it, it's a beautiful thing when we acknowledge it, when we get out of our own way, when we're humble enough to say, I don't know what I don't know. I know a lot on all of this. And I appreciate being called a secret weapon, a legend, the MVP, the MVG. I love hearing that. So humbling. But at the end of the day, we all get to do this. We all get to experience. And honestly, that's our one thing and purpose. And people are like, you know what my purpose is? Your purpose is to live a life you freaking love. And you can change your mind on what you love and what you don't love all along the way. But living by that, because we all get to truly live an abundant life, because we live in an abundant world, especially if you live in the United States, especially if you live in Canada, especially if you live in Europe. There are some countries who appear not to be abundant, but I can tell you I've visited a few of them. I've been to South Africa. I've been to the favelas in Brazil. I've been to some poorest of the poor, but guess what? I've met some amazing people that were living a very rich life. They were rich with happiness. They were rich with love, even with their cardboard shoes on. Yes, they desired more, but they didn't wait for the more to show up to love and live life and to be happy and grateful for where they have with what they have. And when you understand that richness is in all ways, and it's always available in your health, your vitality, your relationships, your love, your happiness, your adventure, and yes, even money, that's unlocking some freedom. That's empowerment that only you can decide if and when you want to step into it. So self-mastery are all 11 of these things. I may have rattled off 12 by this point. I haven't got track, but I believe there's 11 of them. And in all reality, it's a matter of what and when you allow something to activate you to take that aligned action. And will you integrate it consistently throughout your life? And here's the key. It's going to require courage. It's going to require clarity. It's going to require confidence. And the only way to get confidence is to have the courage to take that consistent, aligned action. With that will get you results. It'll get you confidence. It'll get you competence. So the question is not, when are you going to do it? It's will you? Because you can only take action in the now. The past is over. The future hasn't happened yet. It's now. Self-mastery is now. It's a habit. It's a way of living. It's the yes and life. It's living life by design. It's living with intention. It's living with consciousness. And it's living fulfillment, time freedom, and money freedom in all the freaking ways that you desire. So as you all know, I have a new training out. If you haven't figured it out, I have a new training out. And you go to JacquelineMack.com and access that training. It is free and it is impactful. There's so much in there. It's a quick 27-minute training, but it's going to help you prevent burnout. They'll go deeper into decision mastery and some tools and tips on that. And I also have some opportunities still in the Rise Up experience. So that's also in my stan.store/Jacqueline Mack. You can go check that out. And if you're catching this on the actual podcast many, many years from now, you can always go to those websites and see what the latest and greatest offers are and opportunities to gain more knowledge and wisdom on self-mastery, decision-making, and living a life from fulfillment without sacrificing fulfillment for the success, and truly unlocking all that's possible in both your human potential side of things and possibilities of those things that you desire here in this lifetime. So until next time, I'm sending you with so much love. Mwah. Bye for now.